Diarrhea! It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Happy Hump Day, people. Happy Hump Day.
Thank you, Tim Hardaway. Happy Hump Day. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Pregame Show. Joe Spadoni. And you got me for the next hour right here on 95.7 The Game. Good morning to all of you just getting off work and ready for school. Halfway through the week. How are we feeling? We turned the page, Niner fans. Tough loss to Minnesota, but now you're moving on to a team that is reeling. A team that you have dominated in the regular season. Dare I say, for the San Francisco 49ers, as they do not have Deebo Samuel for the next 2 weeks at least. They are without Christian McCaffrey for at least the next 3 weeks, who is on IR. Dare I say this is a get-right game for the San Francisco 49ers? Or are we just taking a deep breath one step at a time? Because I'm looking at a team in the Los Angeles Rams, I got to be honest. They have top 5 pick written all over them. I mean, they're staring 0-3 in the face. They're staring 0-4 in the face. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Matt Stafford and what he can do, and for Sean McVay, a Super Bowl winning tandem. I don't say that lightly because there's only a couple starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now that have Super Bowl rings. Stafford's one of them. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Aaron Rodgers. And am I missing someone else? He's got a Super Bowl ring that's starting. Rodgers, Mahomes, Stafford. I know Flacco's backing up. I think that's it. So they still have that quote-unquote heart of a champion, but this is when you go Indiana Jones Temple of Doom and suck that heart out and show it to Sean McVay's face if you're Kyle Shanahan. You got the guy that you believe in Brock Purdy. You got Brandon Ayuk. You got George Kittle. And you got Jordan Mason, who's been probably the best running back in football the first 2 weeks, outside of J.K. Dobbins. So I'm not here to have the excuses for this week because the Rams are even more decimated than the San Francisco 49ers. So this is a get-right game for me. It's a get-right game for a couple people, too. Specifically, one Brandon Ayuk, who has not been the Brandon Ayuk of last year. But I think that was to be expected. At least for me, it was. There's a lot of, tough judges out there when it comes to fans. I get it. Oh, well, he better look like that second team All-Pro right when he comes back. Well, that wasn't going to happen. He wasn't at training camp. This is the way it goes. You saw it with Bosa last year. You saw it with Deebo. And you're seeing it with Ayuk. It's going to take a little bit to get going. And hell, it might be up and down the entire season, which would obviously not be great for the 49ers. But again, it speaks to their depth right now that they could lean on a guy like Ayuk and George Kittle, 2 All-Pros, whilst being down 2 All-Pros. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It's a credit to John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, the construction of this roster right now for San Francisco. But Brandon Ayuk, I believe, has the most pressure heading into Sunday's game against the Los Angeles Rams. And you might say, Spadoni, it's week 3. What are you talking about pressure? If he can't get a couple of touchdowns or 100 yards or at least a 7 or 8 reception for 85, 90 yards, if he can't do that this week against this Rams team, then there might be a problem throughout the season. And you need to step up for your quarterback. Brock Purdy's going to be looking to you, Brandon Ayuk. You can't have any of those alligator arms. You can't have any of those easy drops. You can't have any of that. And I get it. The SoFi turf, yeah, I don't want to hear anything about the turf either. I've had too many people calling. I've been screaming too many calls. Oh, the turf, when are we going to grass? Well, they're not going to grass for a couple of years. And that's only at stadiums that got approved for the World Cup. So I don't want to hear any more about the turf because the other team plays on it too, and they've been decimated by it That's their home turf, literally. The Rams. And it's destroyed them. All the ligaments, all the ankles, all the knees, everything. So, no excuses this week for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not buying it. I'm not. I am saying no Debo, no McCaffrey, no problem this week. What say you? 888-957-9570. Where are you at, Niners fans? How are you gauging this upcoming matchup against Los Angeles Rams? What are you looking for? Player with the most pressure? Person with the most pressure? Is it Brock Purdy? I mean, the conversation, once Debo and that calf strain shifted to missing a couple weeks, once we got that announcement from Kyle Shanahan 2 days ago, the conversation quickly shifted to, well, let's see what you got, Brock. Hey, you want to be a, $60 million a year quarterback? Well, this is what a $60 million a year quarterback does. He elevates everyone else around him in the absence of your stars. Now, he still has a couple of stars, but he's got a guy who's basically, I'm not going to say basically a rookie, but he's kind of getting the workload like a number one overall pick or a first-round pick rookie would get, right? And Jordan Mason. This is his first time being the big boy, RB1. Juwan Jennings now has to be that wide receiver too, but he has a good rapport with Purdy. Not worried about that. Obviously, no Ricky Pearsall. He'll be out for the next couple weeks as well. Hopefully, he gets back sooner rather than later, because if Debo's injury lingers, then that pick of Pearsall is going to be looming large. Obviously, he's missed most of training camp, got shot in the chest down at Union Square. Still crazy to just say that out loud. So he's recovering physically and mentally. But if you can get anything from him this year, it would feel like a bonus. Here's Kevin Harlan yesterday. And Kevin Harlan, one of the best in the business, joined Willard and Dibbs, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Obviously did the game with Trent Green alongside him as a color analyst for CBS on Sunday in Minnesota. Here's Kevin Harlan on who needs to step up for the 49ers in the wake of Debo Samuel's absence and Christian McCaffrey's.
Ayuk, I think, is playing. First of all, he's not in that football shape, and there is a difference. You can come and work on your core, and you can come after an off season of working with yoga guys and weight guys and run guys and meal guys and whoever else, the Dalai Lama, and you're gonna until you're in that camp and in the everyday grind of practice and preparation and coaching, it's just not the same. And he's kind of in that stage right now. So his camp is I don't know how many looks he's getting, but clearly the production has been down from what we're used to seeing. I think that's just a blip, and he'll pick up, especially now that Debo may be on the side here for a bit, and he's going to have to. I mean, the moments of him kind of being in the background and not prominent for the first two games are over. He's got to step up, and he's got to kind of be like Juwan Jennings, quite frankly. He's got to be reliable. He's got to be there, and I think he'll meet the challenge.
Brandon Ayuk has to be like Juwan Jennings. What a statement. I mean, was Juwan Jennings second team All-Pro last year, or was it Brandon Ayuk? And I get it. It's what have you done for me lately, Janet Jackson? And Juwan Jennings has just been better the first 2 weeks out of the year. That's just a fact. But I'd be shocked if Brandon Ayuk didn't have a breakout performance this week against LA. I'd be shocked. And speaking of breakout performances, and this is going to be the fun part, because I can't wait for the conversation to shift, because this is what's going to happen, folks. I'm going to lay it down for you these next couple weeks, and what the narratives are going to be from callers, from the Purdy truthers to the deniers, all that. So we want to see Brock Purdy succeed with Brandon Ayuk, right? With George Kittle. And we're still agreeing that he has some weapons, but it's going to be different without McCaffrey. It's going to be different without Debo Samuel. We saw how he looked last year without Debo. He said he doesn't feel as confident in the huddle without Debo. He said that, Brock Purdy. So he's going to have to prove himself the next couple weeks for sure. But the next 2 weeks' opponents are a decimated Rams team and a Patriot team's offense that is just putrid. They have a good defense. Gerard Mayo, rookie head coach. Jacoby Brissett, though, please. Drake May, please. Like, come on. So they're playing those two teams, and then hopefully after that, you get Deebo Samuel back. Hopefully. And potentially, Christian McCaffrey. Although they're saying it could linger a lot longer than that, 6 weeks. We'll see if he even plays this year. I'd have my reservations. The Achilles tendonitis is just a frightening thing to say out loud. But if Purdy balls out these next 2 weeks, are we going to push it back and say, well, it was against a decimated Rams team. Oh, it was against a Patriots team that's just not very good. You got to pick one or the other, right? Or is it, Spadoni, two things could be true. He could have been without weapons, had a great game, but also played a bad opponent. And that's too much nuance for this show. That's just too level-headed at 5:11 a.m. We're all tired, or we're all hungry, or we've been up all night. It's just too much. I just know how fans feel and how they operate and how they go. I've been working at this job for a long time, specifically 49ers fans. And if you love Purdy, you'll say, see, this is the guy. Without Deebo, he balled out. We got to pay him. And if you don't like Purdy, you'll say, oh, they're bad opponents. I can just see it now. I can. Speaking of Brock Purdy, Kevin Harlan does believe these next few weeks will be very revealing for him.
He's going to have to be lights out. And quarterbacks that make $40, $50 million a year, that's the way they've got to play when they don't have every part at their disposal. And he's not going to have the parts that make that team special. He doesn't have the engine in McCaffrey. He doesn't have that ubiquitous piece in Deebo Samuel. He's going to have to, the offense is going to have to adjust, and he's going to have to be right there leading that adjustment. So these next weeks are incredibly revealing. And I think it will just solidify his place, not just for this season, but for the rest of his career, in how he handles this offense without having the main parts and the most headline-making guys at his disposal.
888-957-9570. How much pressure is on Brock Purdy to perform without Deebo Samuel, without Christian McCaffrey these next few weeks? 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text the Xfinity mobile text line. Also hit us up on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Go ahead and follow me at Spadoni_Joe on Twitter for the worst tweets you've ever seen in your life in regards to just sports in general. Just, I also like other things, but just give me a follow. I need to get to 1,000 people. Come on. Can I get to 1,000 by the end of this month? Come on. Although, is X even going to exist, or Twitter, whatever? Is that even going to exist in a month? They're down bad right now. Oof. Anyways. Kyle Shanahan. Speaking of down bad, I think anytime you come away from a game like that in Minnesota and then prevailing sentiment from all the fans is you got outcoached, probably not a great week. You got outcoached by Kevin O'Connell. You got outcoached by Brian Flores. It wasn't a great look for Kyle Shanahan this past week. The defensive coordinator you chose to replace for Steve Wilkes got cooked by Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, and a bunch of guys I haven't heard of. So it's perfect that he's playing a team in the Los Angeles Rams this week that he has historically owned in the regular season. I'm not counting last year's loss where they didn't play Purdy, didn't play whatever. Carson Wentz beat Sam Darnold, a game that really didn't matter. It didn't. So I'm looking at this game for Kyle Shanahan. I'm looking at this game for Brock Purdy. I'm looking at this game for Brandon Ayuk. Which one of those guys, 49ers fans, has the most pressure on them this week? You can make an argument for either of them. Or all three of them, I should say. For Shanahan, you lose this game, you fall to 1-2, give the Rams some life, because this is a kill shot for the Rams. I'm just going to say it's over. You're 0-3. I don't see this Rams team coming back. Let me pull up their schedule too. They got the Bears, the Packers, and the Raiders after that. So not insurmountable offenses, right? Packers, we'll see if Jordan Love is back by then. That's October 6th. But on the road in Chicago, and then any home game you have is basically not a home game, and the Raiders will fill up that place on October 20th, but we'll see where the Raiders are at by then. So not world beaters by any stretch, but if you're 0-3, it's not looking great. And you're going to be without Coop. You're going to be out without Nakua. You still got Kyron Williams. You still got Matt Stafford. But that offensive line's in shambles. Like, that's another person I should bring up with pressure. Speaking of the offensive line of the Rams, Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd, Javon Hargrave. Like, who's going to step up alongside that defensive line? I thought Nick Bosa actually had a good game. So I'm going to just hold back on Nick Bosa. I know a lot of fans are expecting more of him. I get it. It was a loss. It was a tough loss. He didn't make a play on the final drive. It happens. But he did make plays, important plays throughout that game, nonetheless. Can he get any help from someone else? Yetur Gross-Matos, is he going to do anything? I mean, you heard it from Brian Baldinger yesterday, who joined the Morning Roast as he does each and every Tuesday at 7:30. Baldy Breakdown's the best, and he joined us courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Just listen to him talk about that Week 2 performance.
Well, I think Leonard Floyd was invisible. I mean, he really wasn't any kind of a factor. You know, they paid Javon Hargrave a boatload of money. He was a first free agent signed 2 years ago. He's not getting the push inside that he once did in Philadelphia, that's for sure. Or in Pittsburgh. He doesn't look like the same player to me right now. Malik Collins is he does a lot of dirty work in there, but they're getting nothing from the backup pass rush. Yetur Gross, Matos, like he's not a factor right now. Jordan Elliott's not a factor. They're not getting anything. I mean, Nick's playing a lot of snaps right now. He had a good game. Darisol's a hell of a player. He beat Darisol. Like, he beat him a couple of times. And the week before, Darisol pitched a no-hitter. You know, he's a good player. And I thought Nick got after him. He's playing a lot of snaps right now, and because he has to. There's just a big drop-off right now.
And what we know about Nick Bosa is the 49ers like to keep him on a pitch count, if you will. They don't play him every single down. Like, you see some of the other guys around the NFL, a guy like Max Crosby, who probably does it more than anyone else, plays every single defensive snap that he can. Nick Bosa's kind of having to do that right now because no one else is stepping up. And if you add more workload to this guy, now you're kind of jeopardizing him and how effective he could be in the latter part of the season when potentially you're fighting for a number 1 seed or you're fighting for the division still. So it's a trickle-down effect. That's great that he had a good game. I don't want him to be playing all those extra snaps, though, because Leonard Floyd, as Baldy said, was invisible, because Javon Hargrave, after getting broken off by the 49ers just the other year, is not doing anything. Yetur Gross-Matos, another guy got paid for the Niners, not doing anything. I thought this was going to be a better defensive line. And again, maybe this is the get-right game. It feels like that because you're going up against a Rams squad that doesn't have a great offensive line, and they're missing a lot of their starters. So if you can't do it this week, if you can't beat this Rams team, yeah, it might be time to panic. That's my prevailing sentiment this week. You can't beat this Rams squad, 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. You can't beat this team, you got major problems. Major. I'll give the Vikings this. I think they might be a borderline playoff team this year. Sam Darnold plays like that confidence with that receiver, and whenever they had Jordan Addison back, that defense that I saw just fly all over the place, yeah, they got action. But the Rams, I don't see it, Bob. I don't see it. More from Baldy yesterday, again, joining Bonte and Shasky. Hell of an interview. Baldy's the best. He's just a constant. And we got Greg Cosell on today, too. Like, talk about the 1-2 punch that 95.7 The Game has real quick when it comes to our film experts and our 95.7 The Game NFL insiders. Baldy, Cosell, back-to-back. Oh, it's football pornography, and it's great. We all get to enjoy it. I can say that. It's before 6 o'clock. Baldy on not understanding what the 49ers were doing defensively on that Justin Jefferson touchdown.
I don't know what they're thinking. Diamador Lenore's on the other side of the field guarding grass. Like, there's nothing over there. There's no work. You got Naylor and Jefferson over here in a stack. Like, sometimes you can, I don't know why you would drop down your backup safety in that situation. Him and Tago, the safety's in the play, and Odom is down there. If you're going to play that stack, at least put Travarius on Justin right there and let Ward take Naylor. At least put your best corner on the best receiver in that situation. And so not only did they get caught with their second corner on the other side of the field, but they got caught with, their third safety on Jefferson like that. And that's, Sam saw that all the way. I think he saw it pre-snap, actually. And the biggest play that I've seen the 49ers give up since Shanahan has been there, happened on the play.
Again, not a great defensive performance from anyone outside of Bosa and Warner. Like, Nick Sorensen, time for him to step up this week too. I want to start seeing something more exotic. I don't want to see vanilla anymore. I want to see some blitz packages. I want to see some stunts. I want to see just something. I want to see Matt Stafford running for his life this entire game, because that's what should be happening with these players against that offensive line. That is what needs to happen. Matt Stafford needs to be running for his life. Bosa, Floyd, Gross Matos, doesn't matter. And in the secondary, I want some interceptions. I want some turnovers. That's what I want. I know Fred Warner, what I'm going to get from him. What am I going to get from everyone else? Here's more from Baldy on Brandon Ayuk's slow start.
It doesn't look like he's Brandon Ayuk at his very best right now to me. And the timing doesn't look to be quite perfect the way you want it to be. I think all of this is kind of playing himself into shape, playing himself back into the rhythm. Every offense has a rhythm, and getting back into that rhythm. Just, crisp in cuts, turning guys around on his double moves. It does take a little bit of time. These first two games are his training camp right now. And so I think that this is to be expected a little bit, that the rhythm and his ability to turn safeties around with his just sudden moves, his route running, I just don't know that you just come off 7 months of inactivity and just get right back to it.
Herm Edwards said that a couple weeks ago as well, former head coach of the New York Jets, obviously Arizona State head coach with Brandon Ayuk when he was there at college. It's going to take a little bit. And this should be the week that he breaks out. I'm doubling down on that. Brandon Ayuk's going to have a breakout performance this week. He is. I'm locking it in. Where's my lock sounder? I am confident that he's going to have a game. No Debo, no McCaffrey. It's going to be a Brandon Ayuk special. I'm looking at George Kittle too. Guy who's been balling actually throughout all this. Kind of been quiet because obviously there's an L, but hey, George Kittle, he's been awesome. He's first team All-Pro last year. Looks like he's going to try to do that again this year. And what has been kind of a down year, obviously, for offenses, but tight ends in general. Just you got Brock Bowers, rookie for the Raiders, leading tight ends in yardage. A rookie? No, Brock Bowers is an exception. This guy is unbelievable. I think I heard Gronk say yesterday Bowers is going to be a better receiving tight end than he was. Rob Gronkowski saying that. Probably the greatest tight end of my lifetime. Complete tight end. There's the Travis Kelce. Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end in the history of football. Blocking, receiving. It was incredible. No one can stop that man. No one. Brock Bowers, receiving-wise, kind of similar to that. So I'm looking at George Kittle. I'm looking at Brandon Ayuk. I'm looking at Isaac Guerendo, who is a rookie. Didn't get a lot of playing time so far, but no Debo. Could we be seeing more of Guerendo, Brian Baldinger?
You're going to see now, because Debo's out, you'll see the rookie Guerendo. And Isaac Guerendo, if you watch him in his final game, Louisville USC, he was terrific. He's got 4.3 plus speed at 220 pounds. Now, he's got to take care of the ball. He's got to pass protect. There's a lot of things he's got to be able to do. And I'm not sure about some of those things. But he's got legitimate speed. I think, what do you have? Just the one carry the other day. Like, he's going to have to step up because those were Debo's carries. They're still going to be a run-first team and setting up their offense. So we're going to see more Guerendo.
More Guerendo, and obviously we just need more J.P. Mason. This guy has been so damn impressive. We got Dante Whitner, the hitman, comparing him to Marshawn Lynch. I'm not going to go that far, but you see the way he plays and runs with that ferocity, that intensity, that burst. Not with the ferocity, I should say, of Marshawn, because I think that's unparalleled. Nickname Beast Mode. Come on. Although J.P. Mason, I'll say he's not a beast. But there's levels to this. It's been a couple games. Let's relax. All right, speaking of relaxing, this is a guy we go to relax. Let's have an Oreo cookie on the pregame show. Let's go, Oreo. What you got, man?
Hey, what's up, man? These next couple of games, it's a Kyle Shanahan type of game, but I don't want him to over-scheme things. I want him to get back to the basics, and even if they know we're going to run the ball, guess what? We're still going to run the ball right at you. But before I go, I did want to give you some props. This is Oreo Cookie, and out here in the Bay, we wake up early for the pregame show with the big homie, Joe Spadoni, on 95.7 The Game.
Oh, that's a walk-off right there. See, he even hung up. He knew that was a walk-off. Where's my applause? There we go. Come on. That's beautiful. Thank you, Oreo. And I agree with him. We'll put that into rotation, by the way. Hey, and if you guys want, 888-957-9570, I'll do the rejoins. That's fine. You can also hit me up on Insta. Got a lot of roasters and pre-gamers hitting me up there. At Broseph Spadoseph. There you go. So, Oreo Cookie wants the run game to just dominate. You just tote the rock. And I think that is going to be the game plan. But I think you need to take some shots this week, too. Obviously, get the win, get the lead. I want to see some deep shots this week. Start just lighting up. Like, you have so much talent on this team still. I know no McCaffrey. I know Debo. If Brock Purdy's that dude, which I think he is, just let him sling it a little bit. Kyle, come on. Establish the run. Take some play action shots down the field. Let's see what we got. All right? All right. We're up against it. Quick break. Come on back. More of your calls, more of your text. Who's got the most pressure this Sunday in Los Angeles? 888-957-9570. Is it Shanahan? Is it Ayuk? Is it Purdy? Is it Nick Sorensen after a dud last week? Who's got the most pressure on them? 888-957-9570. Plus, a little bit later, wait till you hear what one NFL draft analyst had to say in regards to the Carolina Panthers. My man went scorched earth on the Bryce Young situation. We're going to react to that and more on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I have a serious heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. I still had symptoms on my beta blocker.
This is Oreo Cookie, and out here in the Bay, we wake up early for the pregame show with the big homie, Joe Spadoni, on 95.7 The Game.
Just absolutely. Checks in the mail, Oreo. Should say milk. That sounds great right now. I'm not going to lie, Sam. I could crush like a whole thing of Oreos. Again, with the whole milk. Because you got to do that. And never warm milk, by the way. Did your parents ever do that? Let's heat up some warm milk before bedtime. Gross. Do not want any of that. Ugh. Just the thought of heating up milk. It should be ice cold always. Always. Speaking of ice cold, that's what I need the 49ers to be this week in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium as they're taking on the Rams, who are just absolutely decimated. I mean, I'm going to keep hammering this down. If you can't beat this Rams team, a team that you have owned when they were at their height in the regular season, the year the Rams won the Super Bowl, the 49ers won both those regular season matchups. I remember the Monday Night Football one, the Manning cast, Matthew Stafford got absolutely obliterated against that Niners team. And then the second matchup at SoFi Stadium, the Rams blew that double-digit lead, which allowed the Niners to sneak into the playoffs. And then they played the Rams for a third time at SoFi Stadium and ended up losing. Jaquiski Tart dropped the would-be interception. Rams going to win the Super Bowl. The rest is history. Worst Super Bowl parade of all time. Fast forward to now. Are we seeing the end of this Rams run? It certainly feels over, right? Stafford's getting old. Puka Nakua's hurt. We'll see how long he's out. Cooper Kupp's just injury prone at this point. I don't know what to tell you. Gets hurt every single season. McVay was flirting with retirement a couple years ago. Aaron Donald's gone. This feels like it's over. And I saw Mina Kimes at ESPN yesterday kind of throw out hey, could a contending team that feels like they're a quarterback away be, sniffing around Matt Stafford? His contract's not horrible. So I pull it up right now. Stafford, spot, track. Here we go. What does he got remaining on this bad boy? So he signed 3 years. He's got a potential out after 2026. So he'd really only be committing a year. It's a decent cap hit, but $53 million. But Stafford, even at age 37, which is what he would be next year, I still consider him a top 10 quarterback. When he is on, he's incredible. His arm strength is still there. He can still make these crazy throws. The athleticism is never really his strong suit, but he's not a stiff per se. I would be intrigued if I was a team that needed a quarterback and felt like they were a quarterback away. Now, which teams are those right now? Well, Raiders. That's what Mina Kimes threw out. I'd be interested. Now, Gardner Minshew, again, talking about things that are kind of weird. I think Gardner Minshew was the only quarterback to throw for over 250 yards in both the first 2 weeks. It's oh, okay. I think Brock Purdy's leading the NFL in overall passing yards. It's just a weird year. It's the first 2 weeks though, right? Let's everyone take a deep breath on certain stuff. You could write off certain teams right now though. In the first 2 weeks, that much I do say, but you can't write off all the Bengals, the Ravens. I'm not ready to go there yet. But the Giants, the Panthers, and I think the Rams, I think they're all done for. I mean, what the Cardinals just did to them last week, just absolutely eviscerating them, was impressive. Kyler Murray, by the way, talking about just an incredible watch right now. 3 touchdowns, 17 of 21. Guy was near perfect last week. I won a coming out party for Marvin Harrison Jr., who we all thought, first week he didn't do anything. Well, showed us. Chris in San Jose wants to join in the conversation. 888-957-9570. Who's got the most pressure on him this Sunday at SoFi Stadium for the San Francisco 49ers? Chris, how you doing, man?
Hey, good morning, Joseph Spadoni. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, buddy.
Yeah, that's the reason I actually called in, is your little comments about who's got more pressure. I do think, obviously, there's if you wanted it, they're friends, but if you want to call it a rivalry, McVay's he's gonna have some tricks up his sleeve. So there's, a fair amount of pressure on both sides, right? Kyle's got to come out. He's got to, even though we're missing a couple of pieces, we still got to come out and win this game with how many pieces the Rams are missing. So that means you got to go put up some points, right? But I kind of wanted to talk about, I know it's early in the season, but that coverage that Nick Sorensen had running out there with Odom and Tate Brown, that's as egregious as anything Wilkes did at any point during last season, in my opinion. So I think there should be pressure on Sorensen, but I just wanted to say I don't think there is personally, because that's a Lynch and Shanahan guy. He's in-house. They're going to protect him. Oh, he's running what we want to run. But that play call, you don't typically say one play cost them the game. But the one play kind of cost them the game after not getting 3 or 4 points at the goal line. So, I don't know. There should be pressure on both of them, but there should be more pressure on Nick, because he's going up against a top mind in McVay. Even though they're missing their 2 top receivers, they can run the ball a little bit now. So, we'll see. There should be more pressure on Nick, but I don't know, Spadoni. We just got to go out and win the game, man.
There you go, Chris.
You have a good day, buddy.
Thank you. You too, man. And that's a great point. I didn't want to cut him off there, but it's a great point about Sorensen and having that security that he came up kind of through this system with Lynch and Shanahan. Obviously, he was at different places prior, but he's been a part of this staff now for a couple years. Wilkes didn't have that luxury. He was an outsider. He was trying to adapt this scheme to his system and vice versa, and it wasn't meshing. But it's not meshing right now either for this 49ers defense. And what are the excuses this time? The Sorensen, he gets the luxury, I guess, as Chris would say. He came up with these guys, so he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. Steve Wilkes didn't get the benefit of the doubt because he was an outsider. And again, I'm not a Steve Wilkes guy. I think Bonte was talking about this yesterday. We've been lockstep in kind of the same thought process. I'm not this Steve Wilkes saw he needs to be a part of this team. He was the greatest. I was like, no, he had a multitude of flaws last year. The cover 0 blitz against the Vikings was unforgivable. But to blame everything on him last season and to throw him under the bus and he's like, now we got Nick Sorensen in here. No one knew anything about Nick Sorensen. They wanted Steve Spagnuolo, first of all. They tried to poach him from the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sure Spagnuolo went to the Chiefs like, hey, they want me, and then they just got a fat payday. That's what happened. Shanahan's like, God, I just need something that I can rely on. Oh, Nick Sorensen, he's a part of our system. The players respect him, so let's just bring him on up. So yes, I agree with Chris in San Jose. There is a lot of pressure on Nick Sorensen to perform against this Rams offensive line, especially. Now, they're going to try to run the ball, as Chris alluded to. Kyron Williams has actually been pretty damn good the first 2 weeks. I got him in fantasy. So we'll see. But you got to force Stafford to throw in this game, to me. You got to keep him, shut down the run and get into pass situations on defense, passing downs. Yeah, good things are going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of huge performances in this one. I'd be shocked. If this is a close game in the fourth quarter, something went wrong for San Francisco. 888-957-9570. One more break. On the other side, more of your calls, more of your texts. Wrap up this conversation. Who's got the most pressure on them heading into this game on Sunday on the San Francisco 49ers? 888-957-9570. Plus, still to come, an NFL draft analyst just absolutely eviscerating David Tepper, owner of the Carolina Panthers and the entire Panthers organization. That's coming up next on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Uncle, Kate's going to leave me, and I need your advice.
What's the problem, John?
She thinks I'm cheating on her, but I'm not. It's just that I have ED now, and I don't know why.
It's the pregame show with Spadoni, my homies, yeah.
We back. One more segment here before handing it off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. They're fired up. Shasky's fired up. I'm fired up too. It's football season. We're knee deep. God, I love football. It's just, what do we got? What's the slate looking like this week? What do we got? This is my favorite time. Just looking up games. And again, I said at the beginning of the year, I'll say it again. There's not a game on the schedule this year that I am not going to sit down and watch, even if it was, New England and Denver. I'll be locked into that. Let's see how Bo Nix looks. Let's see what Drake May looks like if he ever gets to start this year. Let's see it. There's not a matchup I would not watch in the NFL. There's plenty of them when it comes to Major League Baseball and basketball. But football, that's why it's the king. That's why it's the best. Some sneaky good matchups this week. Chargers, Steelers, both undefeated. Both kind of like, well, how real is it? Facing not great teams, and Chargers had a solid win against division rival the Raiders week 1. Handled the Panthers, as most teams do. Steelers beat the Falcons, who Falcons just got a good win. And they just beat the Bo Nix team. That's the Broncos stink. So both of them kind of like, who's for real? It's kind of like that battle. That's going to be out in Pittsburgh. Can't wait for that one. Minnesota. Houston. Sam Darnold. See you do it again against another really good defense that's playing with their hair on fire. DeMeco Ryans, a guy that was a DC for the 49ers and just saw Nick Sorensen, the current DC for the 49ers, get his defense shredded. So I'm sure he's watching that film and picking it apart. Then you got Eagles, Saints. That's sexy. That's going to be what? That's going to be the Brady game. Burkhardt. Like, come on. That's pretty good. Then you got some sneaky ones in there. Lions. Cardinals. Okay. Let's go. Sunday Night Football, you got Falcons, you got the Chiefs. And then, we got Monday night. We got like a doubleheader Monday night, right? Yeah, we do. Jacksonville and Buffalo. Jags are not good offensively. Ugh. You heard it from Trevor Lawrence. He just said, we suck. And yes, you guys do. And they got Washington and Cincinnati after that. Maybe a get-right game for Cincinnati. We'll see. Get to watch the rookie up close and personal, Jaden Daniels, as well. But we're talking 49ers and Rams right now. We've been talking about it all show. The most pressure on them for the 49ers heading into this game on Sunday at SoFi Stadium, a.k.a. Levi's South, they call it. And really, you can just do any opposing fan base, insert their stadium name, and say South, because that's just what it is, or wherever they're coming from. Like, I'm sure Minnesota Vikings fans take over it. It's U.S. Bank Stadium West for them. But speaking of pressure, here's what Mark Schlereth had to say yesterday. Mark Schlereth, obviously Fox Sports analyst, does the games, does the show with Craig Carton and Danny Parkins. Multiple time offensive lineman, Super Bowl champion, a couple different teams, Broncos, formerly the Redskins. Here's Schlereth talking about the 49ers injuries are why they paid Brandon Ayuk. Take a listen.
This is what you paid Ayuk for, right? Ayuk is wanted to be a top 3 wide receiver, want to be paid like a top 3 wide receiver. Well, I've said it from day one. You're not, so you're going to take less than that, and that's just the way I feel. But, hey, now you can prove me wrong, right? You can be the go-to guy in this offense, and you can be the guy that bails out Purdy, and you can be his number one guy. Go show everybody that you held in, for instance, for a reason. And so now it's your opportunity to shine, and I think he needs to take that very seriously and go out there and be the guy that takes all the pressure off the injured guys that they have.
And one more from Schlereth, who joined the afternoon show yesterday, as he does every other week. Mark Schlereth, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, on if the loss to the Vikings was a bad game or a bad sign.
I would say it was a bad game. And, and I think it was a really good game by by Minnesota. Really good game by Kevin O'Connell. And the way they attacked the 49ers, I thought Fred Warner was all over the freaking place. That guy was amazing. But, I think more of, it was just a bad game. And like I said, Brian Flores and that defense, and they're very good. They really know what they're doing. They're tough. They present a lot of dirty, muddy looks. And that's one of those things that, it's not just your quarterback, it's other players, it's receivers, it's other players that also get confused and also make mistakes. So that's just one that I would chalk up to. They got us. It was a bad game. We didn't play our best. They made a couple of big plays. You can't give up a 97-yarder coming off your goal line. Like stuff like that, that's one I would just chalk up to, hey, man, bad game, we move on.
Yeah, it's a bad sign only, and I appreciate the question. Was it a bad game or a bad sign? That's always fun to do, 888-957-9570. It's only a bad sign if they lose this week. You can't lose this game this week. I just flat out, I don't care that it's a divisional opponent. I don't care that it's Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. I don't care about any of that. They are decimated. They just got their asses kicked in a divisional game last week against the Arizona Cardinals, who we all think the Niners are better than. Much better than, I'll say. So, yeah, you better kick their asses this week. And yes, just get the win, but I would like it to be a blowout. I would like to see some gumption from Kyle Shanahan in this offense. Get a lead, hang on to it, stack, and then come back home, take care of business against the Patriots, and what do you know? You're 3-1, everything's all great. Brock Purdy, $60 million man. It's fine. All right. Speaking of not fine, I've been teasing this all show. We can end it here. The Carolina Panthers are the worst run organization in North American sports currently. Outside of the John Fisher bracket, because that is its own separate entity of just Loserville and dumpster fireness, they are in their own cosmic universe. So we'll just stick to reality here because Dave Cavell and John Fisher just deal with just non-reality and delusion. But David Tepper, owner of the Carolina Panthers, since taking over, has just not done anything. I don't know what the vision of this team is. The Carolina Panthers are one of those teams, and it's a relatively new team, obviously, coming over in the 90s. They do have some history, though. They've been to multiple Super Bowls. They've had MVPs. They've had Hall of Fame players there. They do have somewhat of a history. But I don't know what their identity ever was. Like when I say Panthers, you say the team I don't want to have in Madden. The team that is just, I always like their colors. That North Carolina, just blue and the black, that looks cool. But they're just the Panthers. And you wanted to draft Bryce Young to have a new young face of your franchise. And finally, you had Cam Newton for a while, and that was cool. He was getting a lot of commercials. He was the face of the league. You had Cam. He was great. He was doing the Oiko stuff. He was great. He had that one where it's just he was talking to a little kid, and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to become your mom's favorite player. Remember that one? That was fun. I'm just loosening my arm. Remember that? It's a fun commercial. But what they are now is a laughingstock and a joke. Everyone's laughing at the Carolina Panthers right now and praying that their team situation never gets to that point. Here's Mel Kiper, NFL draft analyst for ESPN, been doing it for a very long time. Has been wrong a lot. And obviously projected Bryce Young being the best quarterback of that class. Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama just a season ago. Here he is yesterday on Get Up talking about the situation Bryce Young has had over in Carolina.
I think it's mishandled is the word, because when you drafted Bryce Young, you knew he was an outlier. Russell Wilson was bigger, right? Taller, but only 5'10" and 3/4. That opened it up for the 5'10" quarterback. But Russell Wilson was 205, 208 coming out, not 180. Okay, Kyler Murray, because of Russell Wilson, became the number 1 pick overall. Different body type than Bryce Young. So you knew Bryce Young, not only short, but small, diminutive quarterback, needed help, right? Also continuity. You draft a quarterback. Everybody said he's got this great infrastructure in Carolina around him, right? With the head coach, the coordinator, the quarterback coach, everything's there, the senior assistant, everything's in place. And then you see him beat C.J. Stroud on the field as a rookie, right? If you take out the 3 games he threw multiple interceptions, he was 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, okay? Had some decent games last year, okay? But then you go into this year, you change everything because C.J. Stroud's doing so well in Houston. We got to destroy this thing. We got to blow it up and start over because, C.J. Stroud's doing so great in Houston. These coaches aren't getting it done. So we bring in an offensive coach who was with Baker and others, right? Bring in a new pass game coordinator, new quarterback coach for Bryce Young. Then we don't play him in the preseason. We play him 1 series in the final preseason game against the AOGs. None of those guys are playing for Buffalo, by the way. They went 1 series down the field and they're rah, great. We got it. We accomplished everything we wanted to. I'll give you a little note. C.J. Stroud played in 2 preseason games this year. Okay, he played 4. Derek Carr played in 2 preseason games. Why? Because Clint Kubiak was coming in with a new offense, and Derek Carr, as a veteran, played in 2 preseason games. Bryce Young played 1 series of a final preseason game against the nobodies on defense for the Buffalo Bills. Does that make sense to you? When in 2 games in, we're saying he can't play? Yes, his confidence was shattered, right? Yes, he does need to sit behind Andy Dalton for a little bit. But to blame this on Bryce Young is ridiculous. This is the blame here goes to the organization, the owner, for mishandling.
Mel Kiper Jr., by the way, courtesy of ESPN yesterday. That's it for my show. Coming up next, Joe Shasky, Bonte Hill. They're going to preview Rams, Niners all week long right here on 95.7 The Game. Don't go anywhere, folks. Have a good one.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM.